What's going on? I am going to see if I can ping Taizu in here. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining. Rose, shout out to Rose. Alice, go voters go. YSMO. I gotta walk somewhere else because my internet connection is bad up here. Taizu is here. All right. Right now, Tita Emmy's. Shout out to Tita Emmy's. Best Filipino American food in Philly. Let's go. It's M Easy. Shout out. Thanks, guys, for joining. Taizu, my friend.
What's good, brother? It's good to see you, Lenny.
You too, man.
How's everyone?
How's everybody doing? Shout out, Samia.
Samia legend.
Pineapple Poppy. All right. Who else we got? Colin. This dude, Jav. All right. Let's go, man. All right. We got people that actually care, man. Hang, what's good?
Hang, legend. Hang,
Shout
legend.
out. Shout out to Hang. Yeah, let's go, guys. All right. Hello from Pakistan. Thank you for joining. We're about to talk about some deep stuff, some recent stuff that has been going on.
Yep.
Great, loud and proud. All right. Broad
Ooh,
Street
I
Crawlers.
love that.
Shout out to
Loud
Broad
and
Street
proud.
Crawlers. All right.
So,
Radio CVSR. All right. Thanks for joining. Haha. All right. Well, let's get the conversation started. So, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Lenny. I'm part of the core team here at Philly Solidarity. And our main goal and purpose is to just promote solidarity by having conversations, engaging with our community, and really opening people's eyes up to what is happening and what is going on here in America. I have my good friend here, Taizu, who's one of our core team organizers at Philly Solidarity. Taizu, if you want to intro yourself.
yeah. Hey, what's good, family? I'm part of the Philly Solidarity family. Yeah, I'm an artist. I like to speak on a lot of these subjects, and it's really dope to now have a family, little community that we internally are constantly sharing info, sharing engagements, things that we could be doing to get more active in the community. And that's kind of why we're here. We wanted to go through the feels with everybody. I know it's like very heavy. There's a lot happening, and just kind of discuss also how as a community we can move forward and just be better to one another and with one another.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So we titled this The Verdict, and I think we all knew why. Because I would say this is a monumental point in history, you know, that we actually had officers protesting against their fellow officer, against something that was against humanity, you know? And I think it's happened before, but not on this scale. And it's sent out a sign to like all law enforcement throughout the country that, you know, this is not okay, you know? And I think it's going to make us really think about the context of American history, you know, in general. Like, I felt like that's what this like moment meant, is that like we're going to look at like all of our past leaders, all of the people that were in power in the past, and question them. Like a lot of statues have been getting taken down lately because people have been questioning the accuracy of our history, because now we're seeing the truth, you know, and information is easier access now. And so I think like we really should look deeper into what this means, because George Floyd's death would have went in vain if people didn't speak up. And when I mean people, everyone besides Black people, because Black people have been complaining and have been suffering for over 400 years, and their voices have not been heard until people heard the voice of one dying for over 9 minutes on that went viral, you know. And so like when we go out to these BLM protests right after the whole George Floyd incident, we saw more people that were not black out there. That allyship got that level of power for this verdict to happen, I thought. You know what I mean? Because black people alone were not able to do it. Like, we've seen it. And so now we have everybody from everywhere coming out showing their allyship, and there's so much power in that. And I just wanted to like get into that later. But Tyson, what are your thoughts on the whole Chauvin verdict?
Yeah, I think it's a long time coming. I think the main word is accountability. If a man can shoot a child and then go on eBay and sell Skittles after his verdict comes out not guilty, then what are the police going to think? Obviously, they can get away with it. Obviously, she's not going to check twice, three times if it's a taser or a handgun. Because if a vigilante wannabe Batman in a stand your ground state can shoot a child who is coming back from a convenience store because he thought he was robbing or looked suspect, then a police officer is going to have zero discretion when it comes to using force or excessive violence. So I think it's been a very long time coming, but and from conversations that have been happening, it's there's still this weight where it's like, of course George Floyd was another black body that was discarded with no value at that time, right? His voice and his scream, like everything, it meant nothing to those officers. Now hopefully we can move in a direction of progress and change, because it's been consistent, right? So yeah, Lenny, like you were saying, like we got to speak out. Like if this was happening in our communities, this is happening. We wanted Rihanna to speak out about the farmers protest. We want people to talk out when it's not out, because it's like, wait, are you seeing this chaos? Are you seeing this immorality, this lack of ethic, this barbaricness? And it's like when it's only when the cries are not kind of seeping through and causing us to create change, it's like we are those deaf ears that are complicit, that are allowing the violence and the injustice to take place, because it's like, well, what did you do about it? And it's like, of course, at the very basic, it's like we can put the black photo up on our Instagram. And I'm not minimizing what anyone is doing, because that's never the goal of engaging the people, is to minimize work that anybody does. It's all relevant and important. As we grow as a community, as a society, let's see how we can get more proactive and be louder voices and advocates for each other. That's what it is. It's like whatever is being done is great. It's a yes and. Let's continue to do more, and let's do it together and build together, because there's like a different energy that comes with community. Like, Lenny, like when we're on our Zoom calls with the gang, it's like there's an energy that's palpable. And it's like we're doing it all through our screens. We're not even posted up at a bar having shots. It's like we are all in our homes, but the energy is still so electric because everybody's charged up. And that's the like that sharing of community that we need more of. So yeah, the verdict is a
Yeah.
long time coming. It's like a small victory. Like, let's go, fucking lock this guy up. Great. Kim Porter or Kim Potter, whatever her name is, she's next. Like, and whoever else we got to
So Kim
start getting
Porter, let's talk
accountability.
about that, Tazu. Let's talk about Kim Porter. Kim Porter was the person that shot Dante Wright, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I literally, right before this call, my friend just sent me this Twitter post of this cop's TikTok video that went viral. And it's not like TikTok in the sense where he's like doing a dance. He was just talking. Like, it was just a TikTok video, and he was just like showing him holstering his taser on his one side and then holstering his gun on the other. And then he like stands up and he shows you guys, like, he's like dominant, not dominant, heavy, light. We go through training. It is so hard to mistake the difference between a taser and a gun. If you are caught up in the heat of the moment and you even have to feel like to resort to either one, then, and on top of that, you make a mistake and resort to your gun, then you shouldn't even like be in this like job in general. This is a
Yep.
fellow police officer calling out another fellow police officer. Like, we're holding each other accountable. Like, this is the shit that we've been asking for so fucking long. And like, that's solidarity. Like, solidarity isn't just like color your skin. It could be like law enforcement or agencies or companies or industries. You know what I mean? Solidarity, like, it goes beyond just that. And Kim Porter, might actually, like, she is, something's gonna happen with her. Like the verdict for her is gonna come, because these are mistakes that shouldn't be happening. And why is it happening when there's almost always a black man involved? There's clear racial bias going on, and I think black men have been nothing but a number until this shit has gone viral and people have audio and visual and this shit is getting caught, because clearly statistics and numbers weren't enough. You know, it's just insane to me.
It reminds me, Lenny, of like the postcards that were in this country where you'd see a lynched black man and the people standing around looking like almost in amusement. Like it's like, and it speaks to the depth of the racial history, like how just bloody is just not even the accurate, how horrific it was, and the lens in which it was repurposed and reframed, right? Because you need that for patriotism and nationalism and certain things, and things that we have spoken offline about. But just what is the identity of America is, I think, a question in 2021 that if you ask 10 different people in 10 different states, you're going to get maybe 11 different responses. Like nobody knows. And the problem is nobody knows because nobody wants to accept, like there's such a divide, there's such a line in terms of left and right. And also now, after having a president who told, a terrorist group to stand down and stand back and stand by, right? Which it almost, gives permission to these groups to feel, and it validates them. It validates them in a way on the highest levels of office in this country, which changes the whole narrative, and it fuels that movement. So it's like we have and then even just to throw this in there, so we're having an open conversation. I think it's something like 3% of the population owns 180 million guns in this country. 3% of the population, and it's like, we can imagine what those numbers are. And we could, I was having a talk with my friend who lives in LA, and he's like a heavy Trump supporter. He's he's like in his 50s white man. He's in the Hollywood space where he feels like he's targeted because he's a white man who's a Republican. He's like, I can't even speak my truth because Hollywood is obviously notoriously, leans left. But he said to me, he made a comment because I was talking to him about exterminate all the brutes. He's like, Manan, I really hope that your side stops with all this race baiting and race war stuff. I said, why do you say that? He said, because my side is not going to play around with that. Like, if it gets to that point, it'll stop being a game and it'll get real. But along with the tone of mentioning the weaponry and the military, like the militarized mindset. Yeah, sorry, Lenny, that was long. But it's like, there's a
No,
lot.
go ahead, dude. Go.
There's a lot.
Go
There's a
off,
lot
man.
there.
Go off.
Yeah, and it's like we need to have these discussions, and it there's such a disconnect in terms of what the identity of America is. That's like such a foundational piece, like people, and there's like this piece of white fragility as well, where, and it's not all people who are, white, have white melanation, but there are people who believe the identity of this country is based on its whiteness, and the excellence of this country was rooted in its whiteness and its, quote, civility that came with that whiteness. But this is not the case. And so when they see all these different colors and religions and languages and foods that are kind of forcing them to assimilate, now it's like, oh shit, but this is my country. The country that killed 90% of the indigenous population and put a flag down and burned all the grass and said, yo, this is my land. That, right, that discovered the natives. We discovered them, because, and I say that in the collective we, because like we're American, but right? So it's just like, so what is the identity of this country? And it's like, it's a question that has been a lie forever. Like forever, what it means to be an American was shrouded in the lies, right? You put makeup on a piece of shit and you sell it as like truth. But it's like, eventually it's going to start to stink. And like, it's like time that we start, I don't know, having these dialogues, because like the way we view certain things, Lenny, other people just like will actually just not even, it's just, yeah, they don't comprehend it and see things the same way. So it's like we speak different languages, not even, in a literal and figurative sense. So
So
it's,
let me ask you something. Your white friend in Hollywood who's a Republican and voted Trump, uh, he's still your friend, right?
yes.
Yeah. And like, here's the thing, like, we don't want to live in a country where you're afraid to be yourself. You know what I mean? And like, we shouldn't like have a movement that divides us. Like we're calling out racism because me and you, we talked about this, Taizu, like we're victims of racism like in the past, not as much anymore because the times are slightly changing, but it's still happening to other demographics, you know, in not so direct ways like how we had it, you know? And so I think when we're talking about racism and like discrimination and oppression, we have to be careful that we're not further dividing ourselves. Like I still want to be friends with white people, duh. You know what I mean? Like that's we're not here to divide people and say like blanket statements like white people are all bad or like all Republicans are bad. Like, you know, I have people of all sorts that have like married into my family that are still in my circle of friends. So like that's why I think we as a group collectively came up with solidarity, because that's the message. Like we don't need a message that's going to further divide us more than we already are, because we had a presidency that really was trying to divide and conquer.
Exactly.
As sad as that, as bad as that sounds, and as sad as that is, that's what he was trying to do. And we've
Accurate.
had Republican presidents in the past that did not do any of the shit he did, and we were fine with
Yep.
a Republican president. So like we have to like spread this message of solidarity, because if it wasn't for solidarity, if it wasn't for allyship, the BLM movement would not have progressed in the way it did. George Floyd might not have even gotten a verdict if it wasn't for allyship outside of the black community. And now we have the Asian hate movement that is going on, and they need allyship from outside of the East Asian demographic. And we're South Asian, like you're South Asian, I'm of South Asian descent. Like we should be showing our allyship to like everybody, you know? And I think like one good point that Cindy from Eat Up the Borders brought up to me was that we're starting to feel and see a link between the East Asians and the black community in terms of oppression and struggle. Like I watched the documentary series called Amend on Netflix, and the last episode talked about the discrimination of East Asians, and how and like there was a link between just how the black people got discriminated in this country and how East Asians did, and now it's still going on. It's like history's repeating itself, you know what I mean? And I think like these victims that are speaking up, they can't do it themselves because they've already tried that. And so, like, what's more powerful than having people that don't look like you, that aren't from where you're from, that aren't of the same demographic as you, speaking up for you? There's like so much power in that type of allyship. And I think if we can open ourselves up to that allyship, then we can solve a lot of these issues. And that's what like solidarity is. That's what equality is, you know? And so like we're starting to see that like police hold each other accountable. Like that George Floyd trial, that was remarkable to see other police officers testify against others, saying that that was too much force being used, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I didn't mean to go off on a rant, but like this is
No,
so
please.
important that people
Like you
start
said to
calling
me,
out.
Lenny, go off, go off.
Go
It's the
off, go
time to go
off.
off. No, yeah, because yeah, no, it's dense stuff, yo, and it's just like the black community has been facing it forever, right? We've faced moments of it. Our history here is majorly tied to the civil rights movement of the black community. Like we were talking about the immigration bill of '65, right? Unless your grandparents came here to the country before then, it's like, or you know, whoever in your family came here before then, we directly owe gratitude to the black community for coming here and being immigrating here, because those were the laws and bills that opened up the floodgates and said bring in immigrants, and that these bills were, you know, they came at the cost of black lives, you know. And it's like, but we often forget that. It's easy to forget that, because it's not something that's repeated throughout history. It's not something, you know, that we even are conditioned to appreciate from our own homes. Like our parents don't know the history. They know how they got to this country, but they don't know all of the history that even led them to that point, right? And again, that's where that other thing with parents, right? It's like imperfect people teaching perfection. And there's nothing wrong with our parents. Like, but what I mean by that is they were taught something too, and they were taught something too, right? So it gets to the point where it's like all wretched, no vomit, where it's like you stop questioning and you lose complete sense, gratitude, appreciation, and understanding of how you were able to ever even be in this situation. And so it's like we should never lose that practice of being curious, you know. And that's like what you were saying, Lenny. Like, are you still friends with him? I'm like, yeah, I'll go off back and forth with Brent. But we need to be having conversations that are uncomfortable, you know. And I always do it with him in a way with a smile. He's like almost double my age, right? He's been living in Hollywood forever. I know where he comes from, you know. He grew up. He doesn't drink or smoke. He's like not into. His whole vibe and play is completely different, you know. He just leads a different lifestyle. So I understand that when having a conversation with him, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the other part of it too. It's like, what's your audience and how can we tactfully engage them in these dialogues, right? Like you go fishing and, you know, I like bean burritos, but I don't put bean burritos on the hook. I'll put worms because that's what the fish like. So it's like when you're out there for a purpose of catching or targeting something or engaging with something, what will draw them in? And that's what it's about. You know, and it's like, so when we have these conversations, because there's definitely white people that are like, yo, damn, we're losing our country, we're losing our identity. But for us, it's not like, oh, you're freaking out, chill, but it's more just like, yo, but like, you're about to have just like, I don't even know. It's like, I've been wanting to have a talk with somebody. I was telling my manager, I'm like, yo, set up a talk with me and someone from the Klan because I need to have them tell me they hate me to my face. And I just smile at them and be like, but why? Like, why do you hate me though? Like, I think we would be cool outside of your absolute white supremacist ideology. I think there's other things that we have in common, you know? But I think there's this fear, yo. There's a fear. It's always been there in the Black community, and that's been instilled from the jump. But that's because the relationship, you can't own somebody and be like, yo, but be cool with them on the off hours. You cannot. That doesn't even make sense, right? Like, you can't claim to turn somebody into a piece of property, own them, have to keep them in a place of ownership so there's no sort of rebellion or there's no fear of any sort of backlash or fighting back. You have to keep them caged and conditioned in a certain way. So that forms the relationship. And even if there is some sort of Stockholm syndrome that develops on both ends, it's like it's still rooted in so much ugliness that it can't be a pure relationship. So it's just like, and so coming out of that, it was like, all right, you're enslaved humans, and now it's like, all right, you're 3/5, you're free, go exist in this world that's always hated you. Like, let's really think about this for a second. It's been less than 200 years. So it's 1865 was the Emancipation Proclamation, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it's like less than 200 years, right? And using like Joe Rogan's logic of generations, if you live to be 100, that's 2 people ago. That's less than 2 people ago, right? If you were 100, there's people that live 100 right now, then that's 2 of them. So less than 2 people ago, Black people in this country were owned, were property. And then they said, all right, you're free now. Go be, you know, upstanding citizens. Here you go. How? First thing, right? Ludicrous that you're still coming out of that mentality and you have to come out and be excellent, right? You have to be excellent. You can't even just be okay. You have to be excellent. Then it's like, all right, cool, you'll get to vote. You're 3/5 of a person. Then it was Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. Then it's like, you're separate but you're equal, right? That was like right at the beginning of the 20th century. Then it's like, then we hit them with like Brown versus Board of Education, keep them separate. To then when we have to repeal all of that, then we come now to 70 years ago. That's not that long ago. It's crazy. And that's the other argument too. People are like, yo, so long ago.
70 years ago, there's people that are 70 years old.
Come on, dude.
There's people
Come
that are
on.
older than that.
Way older than that. Like, way
Like,
older
oh
than
my
that.
God. You
Like,
know, it's so, when you think about it like that, Chinese and Black people were actually like just set free in America not that long ago.
excuse me. Yeah. Say that one more time, Lenny. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, like, the way when you frame it, and I mean, facts are facts. Chinese and Black people were just set free in America not that long ago. Like, that is just so
100%.
crazy to think about, and we're all still living in history. Clearly, we still are.
Absolutely.
Because those 2 demographics are blatantly being discriminated against.
And it's still the reframing of just the history needs to be retaught from a perspective that's not biased, because we need to, because we're indoctrinating our children with patriotism at a young age. Like even this whole idea of Christopher Columbus, all this thing, there's such a fear. Like just last year, Trump passed, he did not allow the 1619 Project to be taught as a national curriculum. He banned that, which is the study of the first enslaved humans that were brought here from Africa in 1619. And instead, though, but he banned that from happening, but did not ban or put any sort of play in for wearing masks. Like while these are the conversations that are happening in Tanzania, where people are like, yo, you need to put out a national thing for putting out mask mandate. And he was like, oh no, the states are smart. We got to let the states decide that blah, blah, blah. But then he put a national ban out saying the 1619 Project cannot be a part of the national curriculum. He went forward to do something proactive. You said, so it's like agenda, like, and just
He went
policy.
out of
Also,
his way to do that.
yeah, exactly. It's just ludicrous. It's just like, all right, bro. Like, it's crazy, yo. But that's the thing. There's like such a disconnect in terms of what the actual history is and what our identity is, which is also rooted in, I feel like people feel like this certain guilt, but you don't have to feel guilt. Like, unless you're doing it actively, then it's like, yeah, then look in the mirror and feel guilt. But if not, it's like like we were talking about, use your privilege as your superpower. Like whatever it is, flex. Like use that as your strength, because guilt is not going to do anything, right? Unless like you're actively being an asshole. And I think that's what people fear though, Lenny. It's like, because if they have to accept all of these truths, I don't think they know how to process it outside of guilt for a lot of people. And then maybe I'm making an assumption, but like it's just, I feel like it's too heavy for them to swallow that pill and say, yeah, my ancestors were a part of this, you know? And so it's easier to then say, oh, but it was so long ago, because it completely minimizes what it was, and it allows you to disconnect from any sort of responsibility in the present.
I think it goes back to like holding each other accountable, like within our own demographic, within our own community. You know what I mean? Like how you just talked about like white people, they like how they feel like their ancestors are being attacked, I guess, right? Is that what you were basically mentioning, something like that? But that's not the case. Like we just want people to hold each other accountable for just doing the wrong thing at the very core of it, simply, you know?
Right. No, but see, accountability for now, but also accountability for past actions is required. And that means understanding and recognizing the history, which means there's some sort of repatriotism that's required, because the way it's taught now is not it. That's what I'm saying, where it's like, I think people are afraid to admit, and that's why they shrug it off as it being so long ago, because then, or else you're forced to sit with the guilt of what actually took place and how horrific and inhumane it was. But that requires introspection and awareness. But much easier than that is to say, fuck that. That was mad long ago. I had nothing to do with that. Get over yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a much easier way out than to be like, damn, should I be relearning? Should I be examining myself? Am I racist? And like, you know, we as colored people, we're like, we can't be racist, but like, we can be fucking mad racist. Like, are you kidding me that we aren't racist as well? So it's like, there's so much, like, on so many multiple levels, this anti-blackness and anti-colorism has seeped in as like residues of imperialism and colonialism. Like that shit still runs deep in our blood. So it's like, for all of us, it's an unlearning and a recognizing of like, yeah, shit, we do other people sometimes because we don't know them, we don't understand them, and it's easier to other them and fear them and stick with your community than it is to go and learn them and you know what I mean, and really embrace and understand what's on the other side. It's much easier to look away and just keep it moving with your crew, you know what I'm saying, than it is to cross the line of discomfort and be curious and just go as with open arms as a learner.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yo, let's talk about some other current events while we're on here. We're at the
Let's do it,
halfway
Lenny.
mark.
Yeah, Lenny, how do we add all those other people as well? Will it show us if other people?
So yeah, whoever wants to talk, like, just I think you can push the request button and I can let you in. Whoever wants to like speak their truth, like, please do. Like, send a
Yeah.
request.
Do I have to hop off, Lenny? How does that work? My bad.
No, I think from what
Okay,
I heard,
excellent.
no, I did some research and then I asked Rye too, and I think IG Live allows up to 4 people. So whoever wants, if you can request it, like, go ahead, or type in the comments if you can't. Let me know. But whoever wants to like join in and
Yeah,
speak, like, let me know.
215 shooter. If you want to join us, send a
Yeah,
request.
215 shooter if you want
Let's
to
go.
hop on.
And I agree. I agree
Yeah,
with everything you just said.
but
You already know.
yo, let's talk about, like, while we're on here, let's talk about some other current events. So, Sergeant Pentland, did you see the video?
Sergeant Pentland. Which video is that? With the gun, with the knife?
Yeah, Sergeant Pentland was the guy who was pushing around the black guy in his neighborhood, telling him to get out of his neighborhood.
I didn't see that.
So there's this drill sergeant. His name's Sergeant Jonathan Pentland, and I forget the location. I want to say like West Virginia or something. I forget. But his video went viral because he was telling this black guy to get out of his neighborhood just for simply walking around. And he started pushing him and yelling him and threatening him. And the black guy was not doing anything, man. He was just walking, and he was so like not threatening. Like he had like a wired headset on, like basketball shorts and stuff. Like he was not a threat. And like this dude was like clearly bullying him, and he said how this is a tight knit community and that you're not welcome here. And like this is the plight that like every black guy has to go through, and it pisses me off that this shit is still going on. And it was done by this like army drill sergeant dude, and he got, I think he is potentially getting charges, but he had to like step down from his position. And like hours after the situation happened, there was like a huge protest right outside of his house, and he was forced to leave. Like he had to move out of his house.
Excellent. I love
Yeah.
that. Love that. That's a twist ending I wasn't expecting. I didn't hear about that, yo. But wow, yeah, I'll check that out. It's fucking.
Yeah, look it up. Sergeant Jonathan Pentland. It was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous video.
Yeah, but that's that fear, right? There's like an innate fear of blackness, and it leads that ties right back to that, where it's like if you're black, you're a threat. If you're black, I have to be afraid of you, and it's been conditioned into all like places anywhere colonialism touched. It was like a less than.
Yeah, definitely. I can invite people to join and talk. Okay. Just walking through the neighborhood. Here we go.
Then we will have to get the report by ourselves. What are you doing here? And walk.
Jesus.
Well, you've been here like 15 minutes now. Let's go.
You watching the video now?
Dude.
Walk away right now.
Just gets to a point where you like yell and start yelling.
You're in the wrong neighborhood, motherfucker. Get out.
Yep. You hear him?
Where's your house? Maybe we should walk you home. Oh, you dead?
I invited Hypebeast. Free, I invited Hypebeast.
Harassing the neighborhood.
I sent multiple invites out. I don't know if you guys got it.
Check it out. We are a tight-knit community. We take care of each other. Hell of a lot longer than
Okay, maybe you might have to hop off, Tazu, for the other people
All right.
to join.
All
Maybe
right, I'm gonna hop off. Yeah, let me know.
All right.
I'm here. I'm about to hop off. Love you, Lenny.
Okay.
You're wonderful.
Yeah, dude.
Bye bye.
All right. That was Tazu, guys. Like, he's just an amazing person. So let's go live right now. I think we got Free, who just requested me. Yo.
Yo, you gotta invite Hypely.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if he got it though.
Send Hang a invite.
Oh, it works. I wanted to see if it would work.
Yeah, we're the work.
All right. Yo, that story really pissed me off. The military guy who told that kid to get out of his neighborhood. Like that's some fucking bullshit. And I just keep remembering the story of the man that was pulled over. He was in the military, and they pulled their gun on him, and they wouldn't give him a reason of why they pulled him over.
The second, yeah.
Like some bullshit. A lot of people talk about like we have to treat our service members, our service family correct, and then you see that happening, and you know it's not about military and not. They're not being judged on what they do. They're being judged on what they look like. So stories like that make me so mad. Just being a military, and I'm sure Humphrey feel the same. Being military. But it's just so upsetting.
Well, you know what they say, one bad apple spoils the bunch. We've been seeing it with law enforcement and all these police officers, and now we're seeing it in the military, and it's always been around, but now it's just getting caught. And I think now I think the best thing to do is for have these organizations hold each other accountable. Like that is like the biggest thing I think, because if they can speak up against each other, against all these wrongdoings, then like we won't have to like police the police as much because we can trust them. Like that is how we gain trust from law enforcement, military, any kind of like organization in power, is if we know they can hold each other accountable and that there is consequences whenever a wrongdoing like this happens. It's really tough.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the stuff in the military that you guys don't get to see, you guys are now seeing with that Sergeant Pentland,
Yeah.
that second lieutenant. These are things that literally go on in the military for the longest time. I mean, a lot of my friends, a lot of people on here, for sure, can't talk about it because they're still in. But hey, these are the truth. These are things people need to hear. These are things people need to see. I mean, this is real life. This is how it goes down in the military. I mean, now it's affecting everyone's civilian life. Like it's sad. It's disgraceful. It's like, what are we doing any of this for? Why are we serving? What's the point? We come home to this bullshit.
Yeah, definitely. But like I think now is the opportunity to change things. Instead of, it's easy to like become demoralized and just like shit on like all these different like organizations members that are doing this. But I think this is a good opportunity for like reform for like everything, like government, law enforcement, military, everything, corporate America. Like like there's DEI initiatives that my company is taking, and I'm like very proud of them for doing that. And so like I think this is like a change for like everything for everyone. And unfortunately we have to go over this bad hump where we expose the truth, but like now let's like absorb it and convert it into positive energy so we can like create a better place for all of us to live in.
Yeah, I love that. Like there's so much bad happening in our communities that we forget sometimes there are positive things happening. So that's what I love about like our group of Solidarity, like our ability to really focus on empowering people and focusing on the positive energy and bringing that forward to everyone, not just certain groups, but building that solidarity. And that really comes from love and empathy. So I just love you guys, and all of you guys listening in have been supporting the movement and the cause, and showing your activism and your love in what way makes sense for you is amazing, because activism, allyship, all these great things mean something different for everyone, and every little step you make does make a fucking difference. It's that ripple effect, because you have no idea who might be looking at you, might be inspired by you, so keep doing what you're doing. Just really proud to know a lot of you guys, and to see just this movement really move, especially in Philly. Like I can see this awakening really happening, especially in the AAPI community. So it's really amazing to see it unfold.
I don't know how much time you can stay on, Raquel, but speaking of the movement, we're going to try to continue this movement on May 2nd. So I don't know if you want to give everyone a brief overview of what's going on for our next event.
Yeah, so we feel like we've been so busy, guys, like just doing things from like behind the scenes. Everybody that like follows us on IG, there's a lot happening we don't post about, like things in the community, trying to get the right people to listen to the community. But the one thing that we're working on right now is we're putting together a community event in actually it's next week. We gotta stop planning shit like within a few weeks, guys. But
We work good. We work well under pressure, man. Come on.
I'm so hyped for this event, because like the rally we did at the end of March, it's really based on bringing people together for the sake of love and community. And this event, we're going to specifically focus on art and music. So we're inviting local musicians in Philly, Taizu included. We have some artists, we have local vendors, and we're actually doing this in a little secret garden, urban secret garden, I like to call it. So it's a really dope spot. Hopefully we'll get some great weather, and it'll just be a great moment to come together, continue to curate this positiveness that we've been doing through Philly Solidarity and things that you guys have all been doing in your community. So look out for details, guys. May 2nd, it's going to be 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. There's going to be food, there's going to be cocktails, we're going to get DJ, music, everything. It's going to be dope. Free, Len, anything else to add without giving too much?
No, just stay tuned. Just watch all our posts. We're gonna slowly leak out more and more information. I mean, we definitely want to make it a very dope moment for everybody. You know, like we're trying to make it something special, something different for sure. You know, like we're not trying to do the same old event like everybody else. You know, we want to bring the community together in a very creative way. You know, make everything worthwhile for us.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say we're not just here to stop Asian hate. We're here to stop all forms of hate. And
Stop
like,
it.
if you look at our organization, we are comprised of probably the most diverse group of people I have ever seen. You know, we have myself, who's a first generation Guyanese American. We have Free, who's a Chinese American. Raquel is Filipino American. Tom, our good friend, her husband, Vietnamese American. We have like all walks of life, like a mix of genders, like everybody has faced at least some form of discrimination, of oppression that is unique to them. And even if you don't feel it or if you haven't even been physically hurt by it, you are indirectly in it. Like we are all in this. And so we want this event to promote that we are different, but we are in it together. And with solidarity, we can provide allyship for any form of discrimination. And so the Stop Asian Hate movement that's going on, we're there. BLM, we're there. Who knows what's well, look at the whole FedEx shooting. People don't realize that, number one, the majority of the victims were Sikh women, but there was a statistic that I saw that showed that that warehouse where they were working in were 90% Sikh. So,
Yeah.
like, it's hard to prove that this was a racist act when the person that is doing the crime isn't saying that I'm out to kill Indian people, but you go and attack a warehouse that's blatantly Punjabi. You know what I mean? 90% Sikh. Like, come on. Or like the spa shooting. We can't even prove still. We can't directly prove in court that that was a racist act. Just because the person
Because he's
said
white.
he was having a
It's
bad
because
day.
he's white. It's
He was,
because he's white. That's the
he was
bullshit.
having a bad day, right?
That
But
makes me
but
so
but who
angry.
works at spas? Asian people. Let's be fucking real, man. And Asian people have been discriminated for so long. Like there was a Chinese Exclusion Act that blatantly said you're not fucking welcome in this country. That was not even that long ago. Like think about how many generations ago that was. In the grand scheme of humanity, that was like yesterday. And so like we're still living in forms of discrimination like this. And we need an event like this where we all come together and we're spreading a good message. But like it's all been so negative that we're seeing. It's all been so divisive. Like, you know, we have white people that are afraid to be themselves and it shouldn't fucking be like that, you know? Like these are people that are our friends, our brothers and sisters. And so we're gonna have fun at this event. This event is gonna be fun as hell. We're gonna celebrate all different forms of culture, arts, music, and we're gonna get to know each other. We're gonna have drinks. Like I'm definitely trying to get my buzz on. I don't give a shit. Like we're gonna have food there. I'm gonna get lit. Like I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna get
No,
lit.
for sure, for
So
sure. I think what we're trying to accomplish is for everybody to get together and try to get to know each other for sure, right? Like we spend so much time in isolation right now during this whole pandemic. Like, yo, take the opportunity to get out, get to know each other. I mean, just getting to know your neighbors, like what Philly Swag was saying in the comments, definitely that changes everything, right? Opens your mind to whole new experiences, whole new, like it's a whole new world out there outside of this little box that we're always kept in. So these events that we're throwing is just to help open each other's minds up for sure.
And a
yeah,
celebration. Like I feel like that's the one thing why we're trying to move this pretty quickly in May is because May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So, you know, we're trying to celebrate us, trying to each other, and bringing people together. So I think I'm super hyped because I feel like this event also marks like a milestone for us that we're committing ourselves to this movement, to this cause, and excited to share with everybody what we got planned, what we've been working on. So I think it's gonna be dope, guys.
Yeah.
What we formed at Philly Solidarity was a family, and hopefully this event, we want to add you to our family. And so like we want everybody to be there to show that they're willing to stand in solidarity, like no matter how different we are, you know.
Hawaii.
Right. So you said Hype Least wanted to come on, Free?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get Hype Bleed on. Get Hype Bleed on. He definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump off, guys. I'm still at the gym. I should probably work out, but I'm listening to y'all. It's important as fuck. It's my excuse not to go rock climbing. All right, guys, I'm gonna hop off so someone else can hop on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, don't fall and bust your ass because we need you May 2nd.
Yo,
Yeah,
shut up.
we need you.
Yo, don't jinx
All
her.
right.
Don't jinx her. Come on.
I love you guys. I'm gonna keep listening. I'm just gonna get off camera. All right, bye, y'all.
All right.
Let's see if we get Hype Bleed and let's see.
Yeah, Hype Bleed. Get on here. I feel like my thing glitched. Like I can't even see the bottom bars anymore. It's weird as hell.
Guys, forgive us. We're learning how to use this live right now. Whole new. Hey, Hank, can you see if you
All
can
right,
join?
invite to join,
Hype Bleed.
and I'm gonna
Yeah.
type in hype.
BLEET. There you go.
All right, Hype Least. There you go. Waiting for you. Connect, my dude. Hype Least.
Oh yeah, so for sure, we're trying to Thank you, Hank. We're trying to get more awareness for the children going back to school for sure, right? I mean, like that's the one thing that I think we haven't really spoken about really in public. So we're working on linking up with the school district and trying to figure out a plan that helps ensure safety for the children once they return back to school. I mean, we definitely want to talk to as many people as possible about their feelings about this and try to get a better handle on what's going on so that we can bring to the table these valid questions that everyone has about the safety of the children going back to school. I mean, we've all been in the high school environment, middle school environment where, you know, bullying is real for sure. Lenny, you and Tizu spoke a lot about that, you know, in a lot of your clubhouses. And I think this is something that's really important for me. And I know for many parents, and we definitely want to make it a priority of ours to have a safe environment for the children, because obviously a lot of this is a big reason why I'm doing this is because of the kids.
So like what type of feedback have you been getting so far from the kids? Like what issues or struggles or fears are they facing?
They're just afraid. They're afraid to get on the bus. They're afraid to get in the subway. They're afraid to go down into those tunnels and hope that SEPTA police is doing their job. You know what I mean? Like it's scary, man. That's where a lot of the violence happens. That's where a lot of the attacks happen. I mean, just look at New York. Look at how many incidents that has happened. Crazy. People getting pushed onto tracks, getting punched randomly. Like these kids shouldn't have to go to school in fear just to get an education.
It's
You know?
it's crazy. And I just sent you an article today about the shortage
Yeah.
of police officers, and
I wonder
as
why.
we what's
I
that?
wonder why.
Yeah, it's not such a good time to be a cop right now, I bet. But like what about the SEPTA police though? There's way less of SEPTA police than there is regular. So
because SEPTA is a private organization,
yeah.
so their police academy and all that, it's a little bit more strict, which is odd that SEPTA is more strict than actual, you know, city cops. Like it's weird. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody on here is a police officer, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I was told. It's definitely weird. And the fact that SEPTA doesn't have enough manpower is scary. it doesn't make sense to me that SEPTA doesn't have enough manpower, and it's even more scary that the city doesn't have enough manpower now. I mean,
It's just crazy to think about, but yeah, I don't know. So it says somebody said here, my mom the other day told me she's afraid to go to work with public transportation. This threat is no joke.
yeah, I mean, see, like that's somebody's mom. Like that could be our mom. You know what I mean? Like, and it's frustrating, man. Like it makes me feel helpless. It makes me feel like there's nothing I can do to protect my own mother. You know what I mean? Like this shit's scary out here, man. I mean, I'm normally a very angry guy, so I react to things in a very different way than most people. Um,
Dave Hune, I'm not saying his name right at all.
Dave Win, yep.
Dave
What's up?
Wynn, he says here, we all have been in fights coming home from school because of racism. Def got to look out for the younger kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten into fights mainly because I was just pissed off at like some racist remarks that I was told, for sure. Elementary school, middle school, high school.
I mean, bro, growing up in the city, like, shoot, that's it. That's all it's about, man. Like every day after school, it's hey, man, pick out which corner, which way we leaving. That's the corner we're gonna fight. Always happens. I mean, for me, well, I'm 34, so a lot of the people who grew up in my generation, we always met up at the gallery. That was the spot, what they call the bullshit fashion district now, that dumbass name. But we all used to take the subway, get off at the gallery, and that's where everyone fought. And it was always over some racist shit for no reason.
That's crazy, man. But like, where does the racism come from? Like, it's learned behavior. I feel like it has to be at home, and like, because where else does it come from? Like, why are these kids doing this? Like, out of racism? I don't get it.
Dude, I mean, look at the shit we're taught in school. Look at
Yeah,
all the shit we're taught in school. Like we're taught this shit in school. This is part of the everyday fucking curriculum, man. We're taught racism all day in school. It's a very subtle way of doing it. We learn about slavery. We learn about the Native American, right? But
yeah,
we glorify the Pilgrims, right? We glorify um, how they came over and discovered this land. It started with that bullshit.
Hmm.
We we how much of the Native American history do we actually fucking know? Right? When we're in school, we're taught Christopher Columbus. That was it. That's what we're taught. It's
I
Christopher.
I
He's
thought he was a
great fucking.
hero.
What's that?
I used to think Christopher Columbus was a hero.
Right. But that's what they taught us. That's what
Yeah,
we're taught to think. Yo, he's this hero that discovered this land. Like, bro, that motherfucker came over and slaughtered people. He finessed the shit out of people. Came the fuck over to talk about, like teach us how to grow. Like he came up to Native Americans here and learned how to fucking grow crops.
yeah. And then he calls them Indians because he was looking for the West Indies. That's where my family's from, the West Indies. Do I look like a fucking Native American to you, bitch? Like,
Bro,
fuck Christopher Columbus. Calling them Indians, that's such an insult. Like, they're not Indians, they're indigenous peoples. They're Native Americans. Like, they are our country and we destroyed it. We're not America anymore. We're an idea now.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
let's just think about America though, right? Like we copy so much of Europe, which is true. Was it Paulina? What she's saying, like our history, it's Europe. The world history is Europe.
Yes. It's
That's fucking hell.
there's gotta be a word for it, like westernized or like
Yeah, but what are we westernizing?
Europeized.
Every fucking thing in America is stolen. It's stolen from somewhere. So when everyone keeps saying this is American culture, what the fuck is American culture? What is that? I have no idea what the fuck it is.
American culture is, it all goes back to our Constitution and the amendments under that. And like America is, if for me personally, I don't think it's a country anymore. I think we're an idea, and our idea is freedom and equality. And the 14th Amendment, because I watched that docuseries called Amend on Netflix, and it was so interesting. Like, definitely watch the last episode at least, and they go into detail about like the whole history of the Chinese Exclusion Act and everything. It was really amazing. But the 14th Amendment is the one amendment that enforces equality for all. And the one thing that we have to remember is that it doesn't guarantee it. And there's nothing that enforces it. And the only thing the 14th Amendment runs by is our own morality and trust in each other to uphold those equal standards.
Bro, we've been finessed.
We've been finessed.
That's fucking finessed.
Yeah.
Taizu, man, you gotta get back on here, man. You got to explain that shit. How
Taizu knows all about that shit. Like, he could probably hop back on here and talk about this shit. But yeah, it's crazy. Eurocentric propaganda.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what Taizu just said about the history we learned. Eurocentric propaganda. Yep.
Yo, for sure. Oh, by the way, everybody on here, if there's anything you guys want us to like talk about and address, like definitely bring it up, man, for sure. Like we want to be able to talk about this shit with like zero fucking we want to have an open ass dialogue about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got 15 people on here right now. Y'all can speak up, leave a comment, or if you want to hop on here and say something, please do, for sure.
I wonder why people can't hop on, man. That's fucked up. I'm trying to get everyone on here.
As a reminder, May 2nd, guys, we have this fundraising event that we're holding. We have big plans for the event. Like, it's going to be art, culture, food, drinks, fun, music. Did I say music? But it's just going to be an event that's not so negatively charged, and just like a way to bring the community together on a positive note, and like just not put our differences aside, because we need to see each other for our differences, but rather acknowledge and accept it. And whenever we see any type of civil rights, what's the word I'm looking for, violation, that like we're there for each other, you know?
I'm gonna hop off real quick so someone else can hop on. Let's see.
Yeah, definitely, man. Thanks for hopping on, Free.
No doubt.
Philly Chinatown. All right. Philly Chinatown says, let's talk about the Asian racism in sports. Some of us never made our school teams because we were Asian. They overlooked us when we were better than the majority of the people. And then they picked to be on the team. Philly Chinatown, if you want to hop on and talk about it, please do. I can send you an invite right now. Let me see here. But yeah, guys, May 2nd at a secret garden in Philly at 2 p.m. It's going to be a fun event for all of us and everyone that's attending. We're raising money for a really great cause. Philly Chinatown, I just sent you a request if you want to join, if you want to talk. Hype Bleast, I'll try to connect you. Here, let me see here. All right, let's try this, Hype Bleast. Let's go. Yeah, Hype Bleast, I was telling you to restart your app if you couldn't join or connect, but you also need a strong connection. If you don't have a strong connection, I don't think it'll let you connect. Why did they blackball Jalen? Yeah. I honestly thought he was going to come back to the NBA. Hype Least, you there, man? Is it working? It says it's waiting for you to connect. All right. I don't know if this is working. But yeah, guys, May 2nd. Okay, it says you're unable to join Hype Least. But May 2nd is going to be a fundraising event. Artists, DJ, performers, poetry, arts, culture, food. We're going to be drinking. There's gonna